You've been hunting for a scanner that doesn't turn your office into a tangle of cables and endless software updates, something that just works when you need it and actually saves you time instead of adding another layer of hassle. You want a device that fits into the flow of your daily work, not a piece of tech you have to keep teaching. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When I first started looking at network document scanners, the biggest fear was ending up with a machine that promises direct SharePoint integration but then requires a laptop, a browser window, and a half hour of driver gymnastics just to get a single page into the cloud. The other side of that coin is the fear of spending a chunk of the budget on a scanner that sounds fancy but never actually speeds up the routine of pulling a stack of contracts, feeding them in, and having the right metadata attached without a second person double-checking. That tension between a sleek feature list and the gritty reality of everyday use is what made me dig deeper into the Plustek eScan A450 Pro. Let's talk setup first, because that's where many office scanners trip up. The A450 is a network-ready box you mount on a desk or a wall, and it connects to your LAN via a standard Ethernet port. You don't need to plug a PC into it at all. Once it's on the network, you access its web interface from any browser on the same subnet. The initial wizard walks you through adding your SharePoint site, entering your credentials, and picking the destination libraries. In my test environment, a mid-size legal firm that already lives in SharePoint, this took about 10 minutes. The biggest hidden trade-off here is that the scanner only talks to SharePoint. It doesn't have a built-in option to drop files onto a local shared folder or an FTP server. If your workflow is strictly SharePoint, that's a win, but if you need a fallback to a network drive, you'll have to set up a separate process. Now, daily usability. The machine's control panel is a small LCD with a few tactile buttons, nothing flashy, but the layout is intuitive. You place a stack of documents in the feeder, tap the Scan to SharePoint icon, select the target library, and hit go. The A450 can pull up to 60 pages or 120 images in one batch, which for a busy office translates to roughly a minute and a half of continuous scanning. What's more, the AI-powered data capture kicks in as the pages move through the scanner. It reads common fields like invoice numbers, dates, or contract titles and autofills the corresponding SharePoint columns. In practice, I saw a batch of vendor invoices appear in the SharePoint list with the invoice number and due date columns already populated, saving the admin team a tedious manual entry step. The autofill isn't a full-blown OCR that turns every document into searchable text, but for the structured data it's designed to recognize, it's surprisingly accurate. The real value here isn't just speed, it's the reduction of handoff friction. Imagine a receptionist who receives a pile of signed forms, scans them, and has to email each PDF to a different department. With the A450, that receptionist can simply press a button, the scanner logs into SharePoint, checks the documents into the right folder, and tags them with the metadata the AI extracts. No extra software on the receptionist's computer, no need to remember which email address goes with which client. In a trial run at a small accounting office, the staff reported that the time to get a batch of expense receipts from the desk to the finance SharePoint library dropped from an average of 5 minutes per batch to under 2. Who should consider buying the Plustek eScan A450? First, any business that already uses SharePoint as its document repository and wants to eliminate the PC from the scanning loop. That includes law firms, accounting practices, and even marketing teams that store project briefs in SharePoint libraries. It also shines for organizations with a notes-top policy for certain workstations because the scanner handles everything on its own. You can place it in a common area without worrying about software installations. If you have a steady flow of paper that needs to be digitized and classified, the AI metadata tagging will actually pay for itself in reduced labor costs. On the flip side, if you're a home office user who mainly scans personal photos or occasional PDFs, this is overkill. The lack of a straightforward local folder output option means you'd have to set up a SharePoint site just to store a few family recipes, which isn't practical. Likewise, teams that rely heavily on non-SharePoint cloud services like Google Drive, Dropbox, or Box won't get the direct integration they need. The A450's network requirement also assumes a stable Ethernet connection. In environments where Wi-Fi is the only option, you'll have to add a network switch or a dedicated Ethernet run. There are a couple of practical weaknesses worth noting. Because the scanner is built around SharePoint, any change in your SharePoint